Ебать его в рот. Хорошо, нахуй.
As the Ukrainian counteroffensives in the east and the south continues, Russian losses rise to more than 61,000. These are the words from Sergei Hayday, governor of the Luhansk region. Well, now it's official. The deoccupation of the Luhansk region has begun. Several settlements has already been liberated from the Russian army. The armed forces of Ukraine is already raising the Ukrainian flag there. I thank our armed forces for these wonderful news. Let's help them. Don't get tired. We believe in our victory. As the governor said, these are indeed wonderful news. What we have been witnessing during the past few weeks is the difference between an army fighting for a righteous, noble goal and an army fighting for nothing. Vladimir Putin and his criminal government can mobilize as many people as they want. It's not going to make any difference.
Владимир Владимирович, вот смотрите, до чего вы довели всю нашу страну, нашу Российскую Федерацию, к ебаной матери, вот так я вам скажу, понимаете? Потому что вы уже вообще обнаглели, вы всех переполошили, всех спутали, и тут не понимаешь, кто чем и за что борется, понимаете? Уже дошло до того, что людей берут с колоний, с исправительных колоний. Вот я перед вами сижу, и вы видите меня, допустим, даже если видите. Вот, понимаете? За что мне это? Просто приехали, сказали вот так, вот так, вот так, вот так. Все, давай, поехал. Понимаете, до чего уже дошло? Где наши, ну, как бы, те солдаты, которые должны воевать, они осужденные, не осужденные. Спасибо большое вам.
It is even being reported that the first newly mobilized Russian to be sent to Ukraine has already surrendered. Apparently, he called the I Want to Live project before even crossing the border to receive instructions on how to safely surrender. The Ukrainians have been severely outnumbered and outgunned for the entire duration of the war, but that doesn't matter to them. They keep moving forward. They keep moving towards victory. The Russians, on the other hand, they move in the complete opposite direction. They are on the brink of collapse. In the south, the Ukrainians have had amazing successes during the past few days, and they have been thinking very smart. Instead of pushing from west to east, like this, where the enemy defenses are the strongest, they have seemingly decided to go around, instead pushing from north to south. By flawlessly executing this maneuver, the Ukrainians will now be able to attack Vladimir Putin's forces from two main directions. They will of course be advancing from the west, but with the newly liberated territory, they can now also move towards Kherson from this direction, following the western bank of the Dnipro River. And in the near future, if the Ukrainians continue being as competent as they have been for the past 7 months, the Russians will have the exact same choice as they had in Izium, Kupiansk and Liman. They can either follow Moscow's orders and become completely encircled, or they can vacate their positions and run away. If they choose the latter, they'd better do it soon, because fleeing Kherson when the Ukrainians get closer will not be an easy task. During the past months, Ukrainian HIMARS has been pounding all the bridges leading out of the city, all but completely destroying them. One thing is certain, whatever Vladimir Putin's troops chooses, the future of Russian Kherson looks bleak, very bleak. The future of Russian Luhansk doesn't look good either. As I started the video out by saying, the liberation of the region has begun. During the liberation of the Kharkiv region, the Ukrainians reached and crossed the Oskil River right here, establishing full control over both river banks. And after having spent some time consolidating their newly reconquered territory, they now have begun to move further east, steamrolling the Russians and liberating several villages already. Now the thing is, in the east, the Russians have the majority of their troops placed in this area here, around Sievierodonetsk, Lysychansk, Bakhmut. Now all these troops, they get most of their supplies from up north, from Russia. This means that if the Ukrainians can continue moving east, recapturing towns such as Kreminna and Svatove on the way, they have the opportunity to completely cut off the Russian supply lines, making it near impossible for Moscow to hold on to the twin cities of Sievierodonetsk and Lysychansk. Cities the Russians managed to get control over just over 3 months ago after a long and brutal fight. Hopefully both cities will soon be returned to their rightful owners. Every Ukrainian victory on the battlefield brings us closer to Vladimir Putin's ultimate demise. President Zelensky has fortunately already said that there will be no negotiations with Russia as long as Putin is dictator, president. Zelensky is basically saying that Ukraine won't negotiate with terrorists, as it should be. And even if the Ukrainians did actually want to negotiate with Russia, it would be completely impossible. Nothing they say can be trusted. They are snakes. They will only tell you what they think you want to hear, and then do the complete opposite. Remember, Moscow is still trying to convince the world that there's not even a war going on in Ukraine. They are still calling the damn thing a special military operation. It's still illegal for Russians to call it what it is, a war, even as hundreds of thousands of people are being forcefully mobilized. It is madness, and with Moscow's position in Ukraine becoming more and more precarious each and every day, rumors are still circulating that Putin himself, like many dictators before him, is personally taking control over how the war is run. And initially I wanted to talk about how Putin, before he became Prime Minister and later President of the Russian Federation, was just a low-level KGB agent in Dresden, and how he probably has no idea how to run a war. But while that is most definitely true, I'm not sure Putin could even do a worse job than the generals who has been running the war up until now. Many of those generals will never even be returning to the motherland again after losing their lives on the battlefield. So who knows, maybe Vladimir Vladimirovich can do a better job and get his disastrous war turned around. However, if the Ukrainians just keep doing what they're doing now, that will never happen. As one of my dear subscribers commented on my last video, Ukraine has gained immeasurable territory around the world in people's hearts and minds, but nothing compares to seeing the land rightfully returned to Ukrainians. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, please remember to like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps immensely.